the Bonneville Salt Flats. Over 47 square miles of the fastest land on Earth. Literally thousands of land speed records have been set on this ancient seabed. In 1990, Dave Campos drove his Harley-Davidson Streamliner into the record books with a 322-mile-per-hour run, breaking Don Vesco's motorcycle Streamliner record that had stood for an amazing 16 years. For more than a decade and a half, countless attempts have been made to surpass the Campos 322-mile-per-hour mark, with some ending in catastrophe and all ending far short of their goal. In 2002, motorcycle engineer Mike Akatiff set his sights on this now legendary record with a simple goal: break it. The Akatak, as it soon would be called, was designed and built around two critical elements: horsepower and traction. Twin Suzuki Hayabusa motors and Mickey Thompson tires were Akatiff's choice. The Streamliner's aerodynamics were centered around subsonic aircraft and missile design, with a parabolic nose and straight sides gradually tapered to the rear of the body. Its shape and appearance would truly resemble a land-speed rocket rather than a two-wheeled piston-powered machine. In the end, Mike Akatiff and his team would build a Streamliner unique in its design and capable of record-crushing speeds. To pilot the two-wheeled monster, Akatiff would enlist renowned motorcycle racer Jimmy Odom. As with all land speed racing vehicles and drivers, the Akatak and Odom would need to make licensing runs at lower speeds to ensure the safety of the vehicle and the ability of the driver.
We've had some preliminary runs at Bonneville 2 weeks ago. We had to go through the licensing process, and that went very smoothly for us. They let us skip a couple licenses and start at 150, and then we ran 175, and then ultimately we ran 220, and the meet was over. That got Jimmy licensed to go for it now.
With licensing completed, Mike Akatiff turned his complete attention to the Bub Motorcycle Speed Trials in early September of 2004. It was here, with officials from the International Motorcycle Federation, that the Akatak would begin its assault on the 14-year-old ultimate motorcycle land speed record. As the team arrived at Bonneville, thunderstorms had rolled across the salt flats, leaving the course and pit areas covered by as much as half an inch of water. It was a difficult beginning to what would be an even more difficult meet. Knowing that weather and course conditions changed from one day to the next, the crew decided to set up shop and hope for the best. The course did begin to dry, but it wasn't until towards the end of the meet that Mike Akatiff considered running the powerful Streamliner. Salt conditions had improved, but were far from ideal. The track was still moist in some locations and downright wet in others.
Our goal when we started this was to try to set a new ultimate land speed record, and that's what we're aiming to do. Whether we'll be successful or not, we're going to see here pretty quick.
Dennis Manning, owner, designer, and builder of the Bub No. 7 Streamliner, and a real contender for the world record, ran first. At 237 miles per hour, it was a respectable run, but nowhere near what would be needed. After watching the No. 7 run, Mike Akatiff, Odom, and the crew moved the Akatak into line and prepared to run. However, what they didn't know was that this very run would end in near catastrophe. Odom, a fearsome competitor, threw caution to the wind and powered down the track at breakneck speed. Fighting to maintain control, Odom powered through the entry lights at over 300 miles per hour. When suddenly, a gust of wind sent the Streamliner into a tailspin at over 300 miles per hour. All the safety equipment worked properly. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, Odom climbed from the Streamliner without injury.
He's out of the vehicle! He's out of the vehicle and standing!
Unbelievably, the motorcycle had suffered only minor damage. As the wounded and salt-covered streamliner was brought back to the pits, the unanswered question was, would the Top 1 Ack-Attack ever be capable of achieving a land speed record? The answer to this question came remarkably quick. Undaunted by the terrifying crash and strengthened by the resolve to eclipse the record, the Top 1 Ack-Attack racing team returned to the Bonneville Salt Flats an amazing 1 month later to claim a motorcycle land speed record. During the World Finals event in October, the Streamliner would prove that it belonged among the greatest motorcycles of all time. Late in the afternoon, Odom was strapped into the Streamliner. A final wind check was made, and the motorcycle began its first journey into the record books. As the Top 1 Ack-Attack entered the timing blocks, things both looked and sounded good. As the Streamliner disappeared down the course, officials announced the speed, an amazing 330 miles per hour. As the team celebrated this first run, they knew that in order to set a new BNI SCTA record, the Ack-Attack would have to duplicate this amazing run the following day. The Streamliner would spend its first night in impound along with other record-setting vehicles and await its return pass. In the chill of the pre-dawn, the bike seemed ready for the final leg of its first record. As the first rays of sun finally broke across the salt, the only thing that stood between the Top 1 Ack-Attack and a new land speed record was 7 miles of hard salt. At 9:46 a.m., Odom began his return run. The Streamliner streaked by racing fans. Again, officials announced the speed, 325 miles per hour. This speed, coupled with the 330 mile per hour run the previous day, gave the Ack-Attack a new BNI SCTA land speed record of an incredible 328 miles per hour. The joy the team felt at this remarkable achievement was tempered by the fact that the official FIM world record was still not theirs. They would have to wait to wear the world record crown. As Ack-Attack and his crew prepared for the upcoming season, a number of improvements were made to the Streamliner. Perhaps the most impressive was the improvement in horsepower. The 2004 SCTA BNI record was set with the Streamliner producing a total of 415 horsepower. With modifications to the engines, the Top 1 Ack-Attack was now producing over 900 horsepower. However, 2005 proved to be a disappointing year at the Bonneville Salt Flats. Weather and salt conditions were poor, and racing officials only managed to create a 5-mile course. With the FIM world record within grasp, the decision was made to travel halfway around the world to Lake Gardner, Australia. It was here some thought the Ack-Attack could surpass the Compost record. However, with water covering much of the salt and very poor track conditions, the Streamliner could do nothing more than a few trial runs. It would be at the hallowed Bonneville Speedway where this record would be broken. As the 2006 racing season began at Bonneville, the Ack-Attack arrived sporting a new color, more horsepower, an innovative vehicle push system, and a new driver. Mike Acketiff had enlisted Streamliner veteran Rocky Robinson to drive the Ack-Attack. It was the goal of Acketiff and the Top 1 Ack-Attack team to run the Streamliner fast, make sure there were no mechanical problems, and give Robinson his first high-speed runs in the motorcycle.
And remember, when they strap you there, take a deep breath, because they'll pull them suckers down so hard, won't be able to breathe.
With his name jokingly velcroed onto his racing suit, Robinson was anxious to prove his abilities. And he would not disappoint. The Yak Attack both looked and sounded good as it flew by. As Robinson pulled the high-speed chutes, the speed was announced. 309 miles per hour. Both driver and team were relieved to have this first high-speed pass completed.
Tell you what, this thing at speed,
Solid.
it's the most stable thing. I mean, the wind was a factor, but just going down the course hauling,
Yeah, well,
this
you
thing
didn't
is
get
just
into wandering, huh?
No, it worked great.
This is the number you got to really get on it as hard as you can to that first 2 miles, and then because that'll just add to this speed here. You did good.
Eager to increase the speed, the team once again lined up to put the motorcycle on course. As the team prepared to make their second run, the wind picked up, just as it had done when the Streamliner had crashed in 2004. Although it was within acceptable limits, it put the crew and Robinson on edge. After several hours, Mike Akatif made the decision to run the motorcycle. Just as before, the Yak Attack both looked and sounded incredible. .314 miles per hour. If there were any doubts about the potential of this streamlined motorcycle and its new pilot, they were now gone.
314, my first run was 309, and it's only I've only made 2 passes in this bike, so I'm pretty confident we're going to do real good.
In less than 1 month, the Yak Attack would be back on the Bonneville Salt Flats for the Bub Speed Trials, and there hope to claim the ultimate motorcycle land speed record. As August turned to September, conditions at the Bonneville Salt Flats did nothing but improve. Racing officials had created an 11-mile course of near-perfect track, and the Yak Attack was prepared to use every inch. On the opening day of the Bub Speed Trials, the team wasted no time moving the Yak Attack to the starting line and there prepared the motorcycle to make its first of 2 history-breaking runs. Spectators hoping to see the 2-wheeled missile make land speed history would not be disappointed. In the warm afternoon sun, the Streamliner emerged from the horizon, headed straight down the course at a speed never before achieved by a streamlined motorcycle.
Woo, baby!
344 miles per hour.
Oh, it was beautiful. As soon as I released from the bike, the big thing we're trying to do is build as much speed as we can at the beginning of the run. And by the 2 mile, I was trying too hard, and I lit the tire up, and the thing spun around a little bit, so I decided to, not be quite so aggressive, and I let it come down a little bit, and then I just hit all my shift points at when the timing light came on. And going through the measured mile, the bike was just like on rails. It worked just perfectly. And I didn't even hit the parachutes after the measured mile. I was dead center, so I just rode it for about 3/4 of a mile, let it slow down on its own, and then I hit the chutes. Everything seemed to work good. We're halfway there.
It went 344.6, I believe it was, 6 something. Happy with the run. Rocky said it worked perfectly. We're going to try to turn this thing around ASAP and see if we can back this thing up. We're in the record books. So after 16 years, we got a new one.
Oh, that Chicago.
The celebrations were short and congratulations brief, as the team would now need to turn the Streamliner around and prepare for its return run. The Yak Attack would have to duplicate this amazing speed, now headed in the opposite direction.
That's all part of the equation, you know. Everything's got to be right. You got to have the track, you got to have everything working, you got to have the right rider, and I think we got it all together right at this point.
In just over 1 hour, the Streamliner was ready, and its second history-breaking attempt had begun. As the Streamliner came into view, the beauty, power, and sheer speed was something that would be unforgettable. As the Top 1 Yak Attack disappeared, officials announced the speed, 340 miles per hour. They had done it. The Yak Attack was now the fastest motorcycle in the world. The new ultimate motorcycle land speed record was now 342.797 miles per hour and was owned solely by Team Top 1 and the Top 1 Yak Attack. The celebration handshakes and hugs continued well into the late afternoon as crew, spectators, and officials celebrated this new motorcycle land speed record. What happened next, however, is the stuff Bonneville legends are made of. In less than 48 hours, the new motorcycle land speed record would be eclipsed by another. The Bub No. 7 Streamliner, piloted by Chris Carr, would add another 7 miles per hour to the record and would claim for itself the title of World's Fastest Motorcycle. The crew and Yak Attack fans were devastated. How could a land speed record stand for an incredible 16 years and then be broken twice within 48 hours? Only at Bonneville. Mike Acatiff, however, wouldn't rest until they had reclaimed the record or blew the bike up trying. The Yak Attack was once again lined up and ready to run. Rocketing down the course, the Streamliner blazed through the timing lights at over 347 miles per hour, the fastest time yet for the motorcycle. Mike discussed the speed with Rocky and then asked him to push the motorcycle to its limits. Rocky would do just that. The result was a 349 mile per hour pass. The crew tried to quickly turn the Streamliner around and continue upping their speed. However, Mother Nature was about to speak, and she would have the final word. The wind slowly began to increase, finally reaching the point that it was just too risky to run. The Top 1 Yak Attack would have to try again the next day. Runs the following morning, however, proved to be frustrating at best. As the Top 1 Yak Attack and crew rode the ragged edge, things finally began to come apart. On its final run of the meet, the Streamliner could do nothing more than limp off the course, unable to finish its last run. The crew could do nothing more than watch this remarkable machine finally come to a stop. It had been an amazing event, but one that had left Mike, Rocky, and the crew both physically spent and emotionally drained. As 2006 rolled into 2007, a few changes had been made to the Streamliner, including the most visible one, rear tail doors. The crew had decided to add them in hopes of lessening the drag at high speed, and then as air brakes as they were opened to allow the deployment of parachutes. What no one would fully understand was the addition of this tail section would compromise the stability of the Streamliner in a very subtle yet disastrous way. Mike Acatiff decided to give Rocky some seat time in the Streamliner and to do a shakedown run at the 2007 Speed Week meet.
Well, this first run is a shakedown run. We've added a tail to the bike, and to access the parachutes, the tail has to open up. So we're going to try that out, make sure it works good. We also added traction control to the bike, so we're going to see how that works out here. The conditions aren't real good, but I guess it's it'll definitely help us out going into the Bub meet in a couple weeks.
The only run the Top 1 Ack-A-Tack would make proved to be nerve-wracking. What appeared to be a good ride turned ugly as Rocky slowed the streamliner down through the measured mile. He began easing the streamliner to the left of the course, an indication to racing officials that the vehicle or driver was in trouble. As the motorcycle was brought to a stop, smoke coming from the bike signaled emergency personnel of the situation. It was quickly taken care of, but not before substantial damage to the streamliner's wiring had been done.
Well, we were going along, and our goal was to try out a lot of things. We had these new doors we had to open and close a few times. When I got to about just before the 4, I felt a big bang, and smoke filled the cockpit, and apparently we lost a rod, and it went through the case. And when it did, it caught on fire. And so I was filled with smoke. By the time I got it stopped, it was on fire, and I had to bail out, and the guys got me. But I was never in any danger or anything. We just had some bad luck.
We're heading back right now, and we got 4 motors back there, so we got plenty of motors. We just put a couple more together and get ready to head out of here for Bub. Cross our fingers. Hopefully all our bad lucks have happened here.
The 2007 Bub Motorcycle Speed Trials in September would present the only chance during the year for the Top 1 Ack-A-Tack to attempt a world record run. FIM officials would be present to certify a record, and the streamliner would run on the international course, usually a substantially longer track than those at other meets. But wet weather conditions had limited the length and condition of the course. To transfer the now more than 1,200 horsepower to the ground through a single rear tire with a surface area of about 28 square inches was extremely difficult to do with perfect salt conditions. With moist salt, it would be like running in slush. However, with the bitter taste of last season's record loss, the crew set up shop and prepared to thread a needle. It was clear from the moment the team prepared to run, they'd be holding nothing back. Fans lined the pit area to watch this beautiful motorcycle rocket across the salt like so many record-breaking vehicles had done for decades. While the run looked clean as the Top 1 Ack-A-Tack screamed by, Robinson had his hands full trying to keep the streamliner on course and under control.
Last year the track was so good. It's nothing like that this year. It's 9 miles. It's soft in spots. It's real soft, and I did get squirrely a few times. But I mean, you know, where else are we gonna go? It's decent. You know, it was our first pass. We went about 300. I know there's a lot more left if we can just, you know, get it hooked up and going. So we'll make do with what we got.
Aside from Sam Wheeler, Rocky Robinson was the most experienced motorcycle streamliner rider in the world. If there was a way to get more traction early, Robinson would find it. As the streamliner split the air entering the timing lights, Rocky was struggling to keep this 2,000-pound raging missile under control. But salt conditions and the still as yet unknown rear door aerodynamics were about to reach out and rip the streamliner apart. Pencil rolling over 16 times, the G-forces inside the small cockpit were above what many believed were survivable.
Negative. No one may enter the course at this point. Stand by on that. We got a motorcycle on course right now.
Somehow, Rocky had managed to survive his ugly brush with death. Remarkably, he was more concerned about the beautiful streamliner and the critical damage the crash had inflicted.
The bike was built ultra strong. I didn't get hurt. I'm fine. I mean, they did a great job with the bike. So, you know, it's a shame what happened to it. But this stuff happens. I mean, I'm fine, and it, you know, it hasn't affected me any as far as mentally. I want it as bad as ever, probably more. So hopefully we'll get another shot.
2007 would end without the record Ack-A-Tack, Robinson, and the crew most coveted. As 2007 vanished into 2008, Mother Nature had been good to the Bonneville Salt Flats. While still not like the conditions of '06, the efforts being made to improve the salt conditions were slowly netting results. The Bub Speed Trials would take place the first part of September, and the Top 1 Ack Attack would take its place among the participants. After the previous season's crash, crew members had disassembled the motorcycle to the frame and began the arduous task of rebuilding the entire streamliner. It was an enormous job that would take the entire year. For most of this meet, the bike would not reach its full potential. Being completely rebuilt, there were countless small issues that would have to be worked out. The Top 1 Ack Attack would make a few runs, but none that would begin to challenge the current 350 mile/hour record. Mike Acatiff had made a decision early in the year to participate in the Land Speed Shootout. This invitation-only, private event was designed for top-tier streamliners, both motorcycle and vehicle, capable of world record speeds.
September, we have a private meet we put together. I've worked the motorcycle guys and the FIM. I'm taking care of getting them over here. Mike Cook has put on a private meet for the last 2 years for the FIA, the automotive guys. So what we're doing now is we're bringing the fastest bikes and the fastest cars in the world together. It's going to be a shootout, and there'll be 8 vehicles there. We'll have plenty of time to run. We'll have 12.5 miles, and you should see some really big speed.
Well, at that event, they're going to attempt to make 11 or 12 miles of salt. They'll probably angle the course a little differently so we can stretch the course. And, that'd be the best possible, conditions for us to go. If we have that much room and we have the power to keep accelerating through that distance, we can go real fast. And our team and the bike that we're running, we're putting out so much horsepower, but we've never been able to use all of it. And even this meet, it's not optimum. It doesn't look bad, but it's not really good salt, not like '06. And so getting it all to the ground's the whole trick. We're working on trying to improve on that. But obviously, the more real estate we can cover, the better our chances.
From the beginning of this private meet, however, the crew of the Ack Attack were beset with electrical issues, mechanical problems, and plain old salt gremlins. While the streamliner was able to make a few initial runs, some with very impressive speeds, problems continued to plague the bike.
Well, yesterday we learned an awful lot. I made a run, and I've been having problems with handling with the bike, to be honest. The thing would fishtail a little bit. And I made a run, and it was doing the same thing it had been doing, and I was about to abort the run. I opened the doors, I was going to hit the parachute, and as soon as I opened the doors, the machine went real stable. So I decided to accelerate through the mile and just see what it would do. And I found for the first time since we've added this tail to the machine that it ran real stable with the doors open, which told me that if we take the doors off of it, I think we'll be back to where we used to be when the bike was really stable. Through the measured mile, after almost aborting the run and slowing down, I exited at 3:46, and it actually gained 7 miles an hour through the timed mile. So I think we found our problem. Unfortunately, we came in and we were really excited about taking the doors off, making another run, and trying to get the record yesterday while the conditions were good. Took off and broke the main shaft of the front motor. Crew's been working all night. 10:30 at night they got the new engine in and running and everything, and I think we're where we want to be. We're about to run down there and with the changes we made, see if we made all the right moves, and hopefully we'll go real fast.
Finally, with the event beginning to wrap up, the Ack Attack would give it one last try. Early on the morning of the final day, the streamliner was moved onto the starting line. The Top 1 Ack Attack's twin Suzuki Hayabusas split the silence as they anxiously came to life. With no more tomorrows, it was time to roll the dice and pray the salt gods would smile on Robinson and the streamliner. The all-out assault had begun.
Entry speed 360.162. Kilometer speed 361.300. Exit speed 352.453 miles per hour. That is the fastest pass ever measured for a motorcycle. The crew intention is to turn around and make a return run in the next 15 to 20 minutes.
The Top 1 Ack Attack was turned around and the wind was checked. With nothing but 12 miles of hard salt ahead, Rocky Robinson would leave every losing memory behind and would run flat out for himself, Mike Akativ, and the team.
Heads up, everybody. Enjoy this moment.
The beauty of history being made was indescribable.
Entry speed 356.758. Kilometer speed 360.471.
The record was certain. The new ultimate motorcycle land speed record would stand at 360.913 miles per hour and be held solely by the Top One Akatak and Team Top One. For participants and fans of land speed racing, the accomplishments of Mike Akativ, Rocky Robinson, the crew, and the Top One Akatak are now part of racing history. The Streamliner would now shuttle around the world. Having broken the record, there was nothing more the Akatak needed to accomplish, except what was lurking in the back of Mike Akativ's mind. Was it possible? Could it be done? Could Akativ, Robinson, and Team Top One push the Akatak over the 400 mile per hour mark and make land speed history, becoming only the 6th piston-powered, wheel-driven machine to ever achieve such an incredible speed? Perhaps.